You really have to hear what this man encountered. If you stay with me, you will understand why one stretch of southern Arizona still feels wrong in daylight. On August 18th, 2011, in Arizona's Coronado National Forest, near the Pajarita Wilderness and Border Road, 3 Border Patrol agents from my unit were lost in less than 30 hours. 2 were recovered dead. 1 was never recovered by us at all. One of the dead was found kneeling against stone, with no blood, no broken bones, and a heart that had stopped for reasons the medical examiner could not explain. The report blamed heat, terrain, and cartel evasion. That report was false. What comes next is the account. My name is Daniel Verdugo. I was 46 when I agreed to record this. I served as a United States Border Patrol agent for 17 years, most of them in southern Arizona. My father ran a garage in Tucson. I learned the smell of wet creosote before I learned to drive. I knew the washes, the saddle passes, and the way sound moved through canyon grass. Nothing had ever frightened me. That changed at Coronado National Forest. I do not sleep well now. I keep a chair under every motel knob I use. I line my boots against the wall because I cannot stand finding them pointed toward a door. Each morning I wait for birds before I let my feet touch the floor. The patrol that week was 4 of us. I was 39 then, senior field agent on that run. Hank Mercer was 53, supervisory agent, 24 years in, former Marine, exact with maps. Elena Ruiz was 39, Border Patrol EMT and tracker, 14 years in, calm voice, half smile, but the person everyone watched when things got bad. Luis Ortega was 26, probationary agent, 10 months in the field, eager and trying hard not to look new. We were assigned a remote corridor where the Sky Islands rise out of the desert in broken steps of oak, mesquite, grass, and higher pine. The nearest guaranteed help was 28 miles away by road. Cell coverage came and went. Radio coverage bent with the canyons. Rock cuts and old mine traces made sound travel oddly, and thermal scopes lie. We rolled in before dusk on August 16th. Elena found 1 set of prints in powder-fine dust below a rock face. They were too long for a child, too narrow for boots, and deep at the toe like someone moving uphill fast. We followed them 30 yards. They stopped in the open. No pivot, no backtrack, no drag mark. Just the last clear impression mid-stride, left foot forward, then nothing. Hank told Luis smugglers sometimes stepped onto carried carpet to break a trail. Elena did not answer. Half an hour later, inside a stand of scrub oak, we found a pair of tan uniform boots placed side by side on a flat stone. Clean, laces tucked in, no socks, no prints around them except ours. The silence hit right before sunset. No insects, no bird calls, no breeze in the grass. The forest did not quiet down. It stopped. At 7:14 p.m., every radio on our channel gave a burst of static sharp enough to make Luis pull his earpiece away. My GPS froze at the same time. Elena's thermal unit went white, then black. Then we heard someone calling from the ravine below us. It was a man's voice, not close, not far. It said, "Help me," twice in Spanish. Luis answered before Hank could stop him. He started down the wash with his light up. Hank cursed and followed. I went after them. Elena stayed on the ridge to hold comms. The voice came again, farther away this time, as if it had moved while speaking. "Help me. Over here." We reached the bottom in less than a minute. Luis was gone. No sliding rock, no brush movement, no answer when we called him. His flashlight lay in the sand, still on, aimed at a wall of dark stone. 20 feet beyond it, we found the print of one knee, then the mark of one hand. Fingers spread hard into the dirt. After that, nothing at all. The wash opened into bare gravel and moonlight. He had not had time to leave it. We searched until 1 a.m. The silence came in waves. Every time it dropped over us, Elena would stop and look uphill. At 1:17, we found Luis's hat hanging from a mesquite branch, clean as if it had been set there. At 2:06, Hank ordered us back to the trucks. We found Luis at 5:42 that morning against a basalt outcrop less than 300 yards from where we lost him. He was on both knees, back straight, hands hanging at his sides. His eyes were open. There were no punctures, no fractures, no bruising on the throat, no sign of overdose, seizure, or heat stroke. His watch had stopped at 7:14. Hank logged the coordinates and called it in with a voice that sounded borrowed. We were told to hold position for scene security because cartel scouts had been seen in adjacent drainages. That order kept us there another day. I argued with Hank. I said we should pull north and wait for daylight support. He told me panic spread faster than facts. Mos, then Elena said the same thing had happened to her horse near Sonoita when she was a girl. The mare heard a person calling from brush where no one stood, walked toward it, and dropped dead without a mark. Her grandfather made her burn the saddle blanket. Night 2 started with movement on the ridge west of camp. One heat shape, tall, 2 steady. Hank took Luis's rifle, told me to stay with Elena, and moved upslope alone to cut it off. That was the mistake it wanted. The sound came next from the opposite side of camp. Boots on gravel. 3 slow steps. Then Elena heard Hank's voice from the dark below us saying my name. Not shouting, not in pain. Just my name. Spoken the way he used it in briefings. Elena caught my sleeve before I could answer. She whispered, "Do not call back." Then everything went silent again. My watch read 8:31 p.m., next to when the truck lights died together. Something crossed behind the camp trailer. I saw shoulder height first, then a bent motion, not like a bear, not like a man, but close enough to both that my mind kept changing its answer. It moved 3 times between one mesquite and the next, each pass closer. It was choosing angles. Hank fired twice uphill. Then once more, farther away than he could have moved in those seconds. We ran toward the shots. Hank was on his back in the wash, mouth open, rifle 6 feet from his hand. No wound I could see. No blood. His pulse was gone. His face looked older than it had 20 minutes before, skin drawn tight over the cheekbones, as if something had taken water from him too fast. The medical examiner later told Internal Affairs that acute cardiac failure did not explain the tissue changes. We dragged Hank to the truck. Elena loaded fresh batteries into the spotlight, with hands that did not shake. Then she looked beyond me and said, very quietly, "It is not taking all of us." That was when I understood this was selection, not chance. It had ignored me twice when I had been closer than Luis. It drew Hank off with a ridge shadow. It spoke in his voice after he was already dying. We left at 9:04. Half a mile into the access road, the engine cut out. Elena sat with the light across her knees and told me not to start praying out loud, no matter what I heard. Then she gave me a small buckskin packet tied with blue thread. Her grandfather had made it. He told her never to answer a voice in silent country and never to let it see your face when the moon was high. Something struck the rear quarter panel once. Not hard, like a hand testing a door. Then it came around the hood. I saw only pieces. Height above the roof line. Limbs too thin at one angle and too heavy at the next. A face that never held still long enough for my eyes to settle on it. The light touched what could have been wet hair or hanging grass or skin pulled close over bone. One eye reflected amber. The other did not reflect anything. Elena opened her door and stepped out before I could grab her. She was holding the spotlight low, not at it, but at the ground between them. She said 4 words in a language I did not know. It turned toward her. Not fast, deliberate, interested. She told me to keep my head down and drive when the engine came back. I heard her boots on gravel move away from the truck. Then I heard a second set of steps answer hers from the dark. The silence folded over everything. The engine restarted on its own. I drove because she told me to. I drove 50 yards before I stopped. I got out with a rifle and the buckskin packet in my fist. There was no road behind me. Only stone, brush, moonlight, and Elena's spotlight standing upright in the dirt with the beam aimed straight down. Her boots were placed side by side beneath it. The official report said Luis Ortega died of environmental exposure complicated by exertion. It said Hank Mercer suffered a cardiac event in the line of duty. It said Elena Ruiz was likely taken by transnational criminals. That report is wrong. Luis's watch stopped at the same minute our electronics failed. Hank's skin changed before the body cooled. Elena's boots were dry, though the wash beside the road was running from monsoon overflow, and I retired 6 months later. Then I started reading. In the Tucson Public Library, I found a 1974 Forest Service note about a fire lookout named Garrett Vance, who heard his own voice calling from a canyon below Mount Wrightson. He was found dead on his knees with no injury. In a 1951 county archive, a ranch hand near the border road was listed missing, boots recovered neatly placed on stone. In an 1898 journal dated August 21st, surveyor Elias Pike wrote that Wilcox walked toward a repeated call at moonrise and was later found only by the marks of kneeling. Across 113 years, I found 11 cases in the same chain of ranges. Same season, same silence, same failures of judgment just before death, as if the victims were being leaned on from inside their own thoughts. An elder from the Tohono O'odham community listened to my account in 2019 and told me the old people already knew that corridor was occupied. He said it was older than the border and the road, and that Elena gave me my life when she made me look down and drive. Coronado National Forest is still open to the public now. Most people who enter it hike, camp, watch birds, photograph stormlight on the ridges, and go home with dust on their socks. That is true. But on August nights after monsoon rain, when the air cools fast and the insects cut off all at once, the pattern starts and nobody links one case to the next because each death is filed under a different name. If you are ever in those mountains and you hear someone call from below the trail after the whole forest goes quiet, do not answer. Do not turn your face toward the voice. Hasten and do not go looking for a person you cannot see. I survived because Elena Ruiz made it choose her instead of me. That is the part that keeps me awake at night.